Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where two bearded film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them, have a good old chinwag about them. My name is Ben Errington, and I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hey, Ben, you all right?
Hello, how are you? I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I am good, thank you. No Luke this week. Don't worry, everyone. He's fine. He's busy in the recording studio. He's recording an audiobook right now. That's exciting, isn't it?
Oh, he's a busy man. I've said that 3 times now, but still. When you're a busy man, it's difficult to make time for all the things, all the plates you're spinning. Sometimes you need a break. He's got one. So sending love and what else to Luke?
And clean audio takes, getting it right first time. That's what we're sending your way, Luke.
Yeah, and a lovely, restful evening once your work is done.
Going to be up all night, being worried about Witchfinders coming to get you.
Oh God!
I tell you what, these Witchfinders, they'll accuse you of something at the drop of the hat. You don't say beg your pardon as you walk past him in the supermarket. They'll be like,
"Oh, it's awful."
Tell you what I reckon about him. Witch.
Head doing, isn't it? It's absolutely head doing, and like, oh, how can we test he's a witch? Basically, by either hurting him real bad or killing him.
So inconsistent as well. It's like, right, in the stabbing test, well, if you get stabbed and you don't shout and it doesn't bleed, then if you bleed loads and it really hurts, then you're not. But then the other way around, when I'm going to burn you with this red hot cross, if you do shout or you pass out, then that means you're a witch.
Not only is it inconsistent, but I feel like there's no way to win, essentially. I feel like no matter what your reaction is, it's considered being a witch. And it's just annoying. I'm just like, we're living in that time. I know it wasn't. I mean, was it like this? Yes. I mean, it was. It was. These things happened. It must be head doing. You should be going about your life, planning for the future, enjoying your life, and then suddenly someone come around saying everyone's a bloody witch. Jesus.
So the Witchfinder General comes around.
If I was a witch, I would have cursed you. You know what I mean? The fact that you're walking around killing all these witches and you think you haven't been cursed once, who do you think you are?
Do you reckon this primarily happened because witch finding and so on took place in an era before I Know You Are, But What Am I? Because if they had that up their sleeve, you know, old Matthew Hopkins rocks up.
When did that come in?
Just after the witch trials ended, unfortunately. Yeah, like imagine that. I reckon you're a witch. I know you are. Oh no, I've got to be burned.
Oh, you've had me there. You've had me. I reckon he's a witch. State of his barnet.
Look at that pointy hat as well.
Pointy hat, quite a pointy nose. Vincent Price. Cloak. A cloak. He's one step away.
Classic signs.
If he had a bin bag on, he'd be a classic 90s Halloween witch with the little clear plastic glow in the dark fingers.
Plastic nails, yeah. And then you could have just tricked him and said, "Oh, pass us that broom, will you?" And then when he picks it up to pass it, you go, "Ha ha!"
Take a photo of it. Well, I don't know where cameras. Make him pose for an oil painting for a while.
Holding a broom.
just stand there for a bit. Have you seen the state of this guy? He's definitely a witch. If anything, there's me just in a white shirt and I don't know, red slacks or whatever you call them.
Red big hats that they wear.
Yeah, look at me. I don't look like a witch. You're a bloody witch. Oh God.
Hang on. What about that bull-headed dog you've got called Vinegar Tom? Well, yeah, you caught me there.
Vinegar Tom. Yeah, what we're saying here is bloody ridiculous, and the character of Matthew Hopkins is an absolute bloody knobhead. Is he based on a real person?
Matthew Hopkins is a real person. Yeah, there's the background there. You can only see his legs the way it's been cropped, but just behind me, if you're watching the video version, it's Matthew Hopkins' legs there.
You could tell though that those are the legs of an asshole. You could just tell.
And look at those turn downs on his boots.
So again, this is the bloody key thing, right? This is the key thing to this. And I know we're kind of talking about the film before we get into it, which you don't usually do. He claimed to hold the office of Witchfinder General, although that title was never bestowed on him by Parliament. He is this kind of man who's given himself a nickname there.
Fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. Oh, my mates call me
Blade, Dagger.
Dagger, Viper.
Uncle Blade, Viper.
My mates call me Viper. Do they? Yeah, everyone calls me Viper. Yeah, they go, why is that? I'm just dangerous, mate. That's it. He's called himself. I'm the Witchfinder General. Oh, bloody hell. So he was a Witchfinder. Listen to this. Listen to this. Hopkins began his career as a Witchfinder in 1644, and it lasted until his retirement in 1647. 3 years.
That's a career.
Pathetic. You know what I mean? Oh, if that's the case, you're the general of Witchfinder, right? How long have you been doing it? Well, I didn't even do it for 3 years. Did he start calling himself Witchfinder General like immediately as he started? Like,
Yeah,
no,
like on his he had a good first week and was like, promotion, I reckon. Witchfinder General.
I'm the bloody Witchfinder General. I'm trying to think of things that I've been doing for 3 years that now I would consider myself. I want to consider myself the general of
This
something. I've been doing
podcast.
it for
You're the
3 years.
podcast. Change our things now. We saw just the other day. Like I had my reminder on Facebook. I know it wasn't permanent, but my 5 years ago this week, my first episode, I came and joined you guys. First time I met you both as well. Had a chat for the first time. Talked about It Follows.
Was it?
Yeah.
5 years. I mean, time flies when you're having fun. I do remember that day. I remember. Who's this guy then? Who's this joker? Getting involved in the podcast.
Yeah.
And now we're all known as podcaster generals.
The podcaster generals. Yeah.
I mean, with
an
5
official
years,
title.
Are we so 5 years for you, but 6 years for the podcast in total, I think, right?
Yeah, because it's about episode 20 odd, so you guys have been doing it 6 months at least.
So I'm double a Witchfinder General. What's after General? Captain.
You're the
king.
The Witchfinder Field Marshal. The podcaster commander.
3 years. 3 years. I wonder how many people. So he and his associates are responsible for more people being hanged for witchcraft than in the previous 100 years. He is believed to have been responsible for the executions of over 100 alleged witches between. He was just. You've hung more people for witchcraft than anyone else has in the last 100 years. The total of people who've been hanged for witchcraft in 100 years, and he's gone. Yeah, good.
Smash that target. He's like, yeah, year on year. Look at these. Look at this uptick. Imagine if they had graphs back then. He'd be like, look at this. Look at these numbers.
I'd be like, well, what's happening that makes you think there's that many witches knocking about? Like, what's going on in the world? Like, there's a civil war, right? That's one of the big.
So it's the British Civil War when there's like the royalists that loved old King Charles were saying, "Oh, go on, have a royal family," and the parliamentarians led by Puritan Oliver Cromwell. He was very religious, and he was like,
"This was pre-Black. This was pre-Black Plague as well, right?"
What was the date you said?
1645.
Yeah, 1666 is the Great Fire of London, which is the end of the Black Plague. So yeah,
pre-Black Plague, pre-Great Fire of London. Who's thinking that witches are causing all the problems? It's all down to the bloody witches.
Vinegar Tom and his mates, yeah.
And you obviously mentioned last week that this month's podcast lineup has been we didn't do it on purpose, but a lot of commentary about women in terms of like the way they get treated, from the male gaze, and then also what did we talk about? The Burning, obviously, which was produced by old Weinstein. So a lot of interesting conversations to be had around, not necessarily about the horror genre, but about lots of things in general. And in terms of Witchfinder General, it seems like it's just a bloody excuse to just go around murdering women. I know men get murdered as well, but let's be honest.
If you're Matthew Hopkins, you'll murder anyone.
If you're Matthew Hopkins, but he says he values all human life, especially his own. But I think what we're trying to say here is that in terms of like what witch hunters, what was the reasoning behind it, and it did seem to just be able to impose this like reign of terror and judgment. And it's like, again, another thing that is completely driven by religion. He's doing God's work. God called me up and he said, hundreds of witches knocking about in East Anglia, not even a country, East Anglia. And he's gone, can you off them for me? And he's gone, you know what, I will. What shall I wear? Hat and a
cloak, hat. Yeah, and then think of the cruelest ways possible to kill people if you can. All right, I will.
I will. Burn, stab. Okay, right. before we
you've done it though, and I'm going to congratulate you, Ben. Before we get on to the regular schedule programming I think there are some high concept, really high academic film podcasts out there that would have struggled to put together a group of 4 movies to discuss the themes that you pulled this week, and you did it by accident. So well done.
Again, maybe that's it. Maybe me and my absent-minded state, doing the God's work, quite literally.
You're doing God's work. Yeah, he sent you that mission.
He sent me that mission in a dream. But it all started with me going, "Oh, I'd love to watch Piranha again."
Love to watch Piranha again. And you watched that billion-hour documentary on folk horror as well, right? Which this came up on.
I did. Yeah, this was mentioned on that, so that made me want to watch that. Billion hours. Some people would say they haven't got that time, but I had it, so there we go.
To watch all those things. What's in the news though?
Yeah, before we go into this deep dive that we've already started, in the news, horror news this week. So there's a trailer for Pearl, the prequel to X. We've just done a trailer reaction, so that should be available on Patreon, patreon.com/horror hangout, and then it'll be on YouTube again soon. So we found it to be looking quite exciting, didn't we?
Very exciting. I think this has gone quite high on my horror movies I'm looking forward to list.
And guess what? September the 16th, 2022 it will be out.
Same year. Look at that.
If you're thinking I'm excited for this movie, what's that? Oh, it's out in a number of weeks. Can he wait?
Tell you what, you think Luke Condor's busy with all these things on Ty West? Look at him on a day off.
As I'm saying, what they've clearly done is they've got the set and they've gone, that was fun. Let's knock out a quick prequel, costume change. Let's go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks exciting. Looks super violent, super bloody, set in like World War I era, like 1918, I believe. And Mia Goth seems like she's stabbing people with that 3-pronged pitchfork thing. Yeah. There's crocodiles in it, or alligators, who knows. Someone getting exploded, it looked like.
A bath full of bits.
There's a bath full of bits. I'd be annoyed by that. I'd be like, I'm really fancy a bath. Oh, it's full of body parts.
You know what it's like? I used to get this, obviously years gone by. Back when I was a teenager living at home, my dad's favorite thing, and it'd always be on the day that you've been out, never when you're bloody in. You never come in the middle of the day and it's like this. You come in and there's been some laundry, and what he's done is he's put it not on the table that's in your room, not on any of those things. He's put this laundry on your bed.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not don't think I'm living with servants. I don't think even as a teenager, that my parents, having done the laundry, need to then put my washing away. Not on my bed when I'm out though, because if I get back in and it's 2 a.m. or something, or it's very late, I ain't gonna be, now I'm just in the right state of mind and activity to put this laundry away nicely. No.
Or if you're going to kick it onto the floor, or if you're freaked out, you don't even turn the light on, you jump onto your bed, you're going to be thinking
that.
You'll be thinking that's a person.
Yeah. If you've arranged it like that, like put all the socks at the bottom, just a headless body.
To do. Headless body, exactly. Never hang up your outfit for the next day anywhere, because you'll wake up in the middle of the night and there'll be a person in the corner of your room.
You'd be sleep paralyzed.
Don't want to get spooked or sleep paralyzed. Yeah. What else we got? So the documentary Pennywise, the story of it, is out now. Is streaming on Screenbox, so streaming and VOD service platform. I think you can get it via Amazon, but I think you need to have a US.
You plug it into your Amazon thing, a bit like how Shudder works like that as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, just like that. So this is interesting. I think it's a few years ago that it was it like crowdfunded, possibly? I remember hearing about it a few years ago. But yeah, this is obviously based on, it's about the making of the miniseries It from 1990, not the obviously the fairly recent films. But yeah, that'll be interesting to watch. I'm definitely keen to watch it, especially off the back of watching a lot of horror movie documentaries recently. I'm definitely in the mood for that sort of thing, so definitely going to be checking it out.
And I've also seen early reviews for both Nope and Prey. Certainly the ones I've seen all seem very positive.
Yeah, so we're going to be covering them both on the podcast next month, so August. Bit frustrating though, because obviously Nope is out in the US and it's not out in the UK now for still a couple of weeks. I'm doing my best to avoid spoilers, and I think I've avoided them. But
I think I've seen some fairly abstract ones which I've not dwelled on enough to
like
remember.
out of context,
yeah,
sort of like out of context things where I'm like, but then again, like the Jordan Peele stuff seems to, each of the film he brings out creates this kind of world where there are these pieces of like media within that world that gain, like obviously with Us, there was the stuff about the hands around the planet thing, which I think I saw before the film came out, and it's like on its own, it's not really got much context, but obviously once you watch the film, you understand what it's about. And I think I've seen a couple of things from Nope from that, but no major spoilers yet. I'm very much looking forward to it, especially with the fact it's been getting good reviews. So
yeah, looking forward to both of those.
And another piece of news is Bruce Campbell teases that an Ash versus Evil Dead animated series is being discussed. So not being made, not in pre-production, but just being discussed, So the Evil Dead the game has apparently been doing well. I've not jumped into that yet, although I would like to, but it's one of those classic.
It's an online multiplayer, so
yeah, online multiplayer, which I think is all right to play a couple of times, but it wouldn't, hold my attention for too long. So he says, we're already talking about the animated series. What's weird as well is that after watching the documentaries all about A Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th movies, Ash gets brought up a lot as a potential opponent for
he
both.
Was meant to be in Freddy versus Jason, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was supposed to be like an end credits, and was there a comic where
he
was involved?
I think there is Freddy versus Jason versus Army of Darkness that Ash is in it. I think they managed to wrangle the legalities for a comic, but I'm not sure they've done. I might be making that up. Maybe I've just imagined.
I'm pretty sure there is. I've definitely seen a cover. I wasn't sure if it was just a concept, but also talking about Evil Dead Rise. I was pretty sure that's supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, I thought. When is it?
I don't know. So I don't know. So I've heard things like it's definitely coming out this year. I've seen like a slate sort of talking about like pre-production or sort of the filming principal photography is done, but we've not seen any images, not seen a poster, no word of a trailer. But it just says here, Evil Dead Rise is set to debut on HBO Max sometime later this year.
Oh, there you go. It doesn't have a. It just says coming soon on the poster here, and it hasn't put a year against it. So whenever soon is coming soon.
It's coming soon.
Unless you're listening to this in the future, in which case it might already be here.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe. Oh God.
It's sooner now than it was when this episode began.
Exactly.
Ever sooner, second at a time.
That's it for news. That's all I've got. Have you seen anything of note this week?
Not so much this week. After having a couple of really heavy weeks for the watching, I have finished the season of that 2019 reboot of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Okay, so you mentioned.
You know what? It was pretty fun. It was pretty sweet. Like it had the vibes of those. Watching those things as a kid, really nice entry into horror stuff. But it was modern. It was just nicely familiar. Yeah, I don't think necessarily you need to seek it out if you haven't seen it, but it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. Like I think for anyone, especially if you're the people I might recommend seeking it out for is if you're a parent today who doesn't necessarily have the same. I have no idea what the good folks at Nickelodeon are producing today. What there is for young adult horror. It's been a while since you guys discussed it with Alice, right? But I think if you had kids that you wanted to introduce to more horror and you were a bit skeptical of whack American Horror Story on for them or something truly disturbing, it is a nice entry. Maybe you, Ben, you've got a kid that you can experiment on. See how your daughter takes to it. I think she'd be fine with it based on
Yeah.
what you've described her as watching. She's done Stranger Things
She's
recently,
done
right?
Stranger Things, and I've
Far
suggested
less scary
maybe
than that. Far less scary than that.
me and probably all of my naivety. Naivety? Is that a word?
Yeah.
I did suggest her watching Resident Evil. Which in my head is like, is that much worse than Stranger Things? Really?
Nah. No,
Nah.
it's fine. I mean, people might say fuck or bugger in that a little bit, but that's fine.
Yeah. But she didn't go for it. She wasn't interested. But
I saw
maybe something else.
I've been continuing to get in the hot and takes, and that one continues to be really polarizing. With people saying, no, it's really bad. Like, and I think my favorite take on it right now is, oh, them teenagers are annoying and they do stupid things. And I was like, have you met any teenagers? Those are both things that they are. They make silly decisions that you as an adult can recognize, and actually, to you as an adult, teenagers probably quite annoying.
Perfect as a teenager, were you? Oh my god, I often think
I was really sound actually. Everyone thought I was delightful. Yeah, no, you were probably really annoying, and you did stupid stuff like teenagers do.
The only way you need to see it, I mean, it's not me as a teenager, but occasionally when I see Facebook statuses pop up on my memories, Facebook statuses that I posted in 2008, so 14 years ago.
Sometimes I'll do that. I see them come up and I just delete them as if I'm like erasing them and make them disappear like Marty McFly's family in that picture. It's like, you're gone.
I think I mentioned it before. Like, I thought that getting drunk was a personality. Sorry, lad. Sorry, I'll get smashed tonight. Who's come with me? Loads of stuff like that. And just
cheeky song lyric.
Cheeky song lyric, little quote from a movie. When it gets around the time that Watchmen came out in 2007, I was all over it, quoting Watchmen, writing down little writing Rorschach quotes.
Oh, edgy. Oh, the thing is,
shouted, "Save us!"
I'm not locked in here with you. You're like, that's Facebook. You're not locked in anywhere.
But I just wrote it. Didn't put it in a like quotation marks. Didn't say this is from Watchmen. Just wrote things. People who probably weren't aware of the film or the graphic novel were just like, "Who's this edgelord?"
Look at him. He's an edgy character.
I saw the face of someone in a split head of an Alsatian dog. Didn't write that, but
I thought bloomin' hell.
Bloomin' hell's horrible.
Those are painfully embarrassing moments to delete every time you see them to make sure you never have to experience them again.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Is that it? Have you seen anything else really?
No, very little else. I've been doing a little bit of gaming. I'm still working my way through The Quarry, but I'll comment on that when I finished it. Still good.
Okay.
How about you? What you seen?
Well, talking of gaming, I've started Last of Us Part 2 again. So this is only the second time I've played it. So, and already, only like, a couple of hours in, already it's putting me through the emotional ringer where I'm like, oh, Jesus, that's still bloody hard to swallow. Yeah.
Are you preparing yourself for the remake, the original remake?
Well, I don't know, because I've definitely played the original. I reckon 4, 5, or 6 times. Either or, like, that's quite a lot to sort of go back and want to play again. So with Last of Us Part 2, I only played it once before, so playing it again kind of feels all right. But maybe, but not at the starting price, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's a tough ask for a remake to still be, especially current gen prices. I think it's a bit and like, I don't at me, everyone. I know making games is expensive, and I know it's a really nice remake, and I know that you love Naughty Dog and want to have their children. They're a company, they're not your friends. But good on them. If you want to buy it. I have yet to finish either of the versions of it I already own. I had a PS3 version, and then I got it on PS4. It's fine. I've not experienced it before. I would love to play it once and go through. Maybe if it's a decent price by the time I'm getting around to playing it, then I will get the newest version just because.
Yeah.
But also, I do own those other 2 versions, and I'm not going to be comparing it to anything. So I imagine even the PS3 version looks fine Because
Yeah, and I think did we mention last week? Like my brain's filled in the blanks of what I used to look like. Like so now I watched a sort of a video which was talking about like making the game from the ground upwards and making it like new gen graphics. But in my head I was like, does not look the same? And then they showed a PS3 version. I'm like, oh my god, like my brain is just I don't know. My brain just updated it in my memory.
Yeah, that's it. You do update those things yourself. So unless yeah, absolutely, if it's right for you, if you want to go back, that's fine. But if, like me, you have an immense amount of guilt for the amount of games that you have bought and not played at all,
Yeah.
or would love to finish but haven't got round to yet, then you got to kind of march on with these things a little bit. So I think if I had finished it, I probably wouldn't get a remake for just that reason.
Yeah.
Which ties me into another. We'll harken back to a little bit of news I've just remembered as well. I saw a think piece that was on the other day that was suggesting that Netflix have gone back and have uploaded edits to some episodes of Stranger Things. I'm not sure if it corrects a plot hole or changed some less desire. I didn't read the whole article. It's saying it changes some things in it, and they're arguing, is this okay? Is this a dangerous practice? And yes, to a degree, I think changing art after it's released could be.
Is it something to do with that subplot where 11 like ran off with the?
Oh, I don't. I'd have to look back. I think there was something about correcting something, but
yeah, because I think it mentioned that some of the people she ran off with were like involved in the in her little like on the experimental crew with Papa, and obviously in season 4 none of them were there.
It could be that. Yeah.
But then they could just say, oh, it's a different. They're in a different room.
I think for a fundamental thing, yes, you could. Like there are troublesome things about editing that you could do it sometimes absolutely and entirely the right thing to do, but also fundamentally with a program like Stranger Things, it's an entire series. I have watched it now, and as you say, time marches on and so on. So
I'm just thinking, like, for newer fans who are coming in and watching it, maybe they just need to clear up some things, because maybe it's just like an honest mistake. Oh damn, we didn't quite, and maybe it's not changing something that people are particularly precious about.
Or they've uploaded some VFX changes or something like that. I think there was an issue with Falcon Winter Soldier that they tested something and they maybe cut some blood out of it, and someone was like, "Oh no, look at him sanitized. I want to see that man riddled with bullets."
But dead.
Yeah, but you know what? Like that is for me, if I think about that as an example, what a great way to, if you can run 2 loads of VFX things and have like a more sanitized version for kids, or it's only this. It is no different to having a TV cut of a movie, as far as I'm concerned. You have different cuts that are suitable for different times and different audiences.
Which still happens. If I accidentally stumble across a film on TV, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, this bit. Wait for this bit." Oh God! I mentioned I was watching Men in Black the other day. There was loads of stuff cut out of that.
Like whenever you see Who Framed Roger Rabbit on TV, you never get the terrible bit where that poor little shoe gets melted.
Yeah. Justice for the cartoon shoe.
But the reality that I don't think it's worth the panic that this is this new thing that people are doing. It's just a different method of delivering that. And I understand that people who want to be very dramatic will say, "Oh, it's 1984. This is the Department of Truth going in there and they're retconning what is reality." As then you'll say, "Oh, I remember that scene." They'll be like, "Oh, that scene never existed.
Never happened."
But I tell you what, Jabba the Hutt was always in Star Wars Episode 4.
It was never a bloke in a fur coat. Wasn't that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was always there. Like, I get it from that sense of the word, but also at a very base level, Stranger Things was a big old long series, and I watched it when it came out. I'm probably unlikely to ever know what they've done to it because I'm probably
not
going to watch it again in living memory, because there is new content marching onwards for infinity. So
yeah, there we go. That's a good point. Go back and do what you want. Find episode 1 of Breaking Bad, and stick Mickey Mouse in there. It's all right. I'll never know,
because I wouldn't see it because I'm not going to see it again.
I would never see it. I've seen a couple of things this week. I'll quickly rattle through them without going too much detail. I watched the movie The Grey Man, the Netflix action movie directed by the Russo brothers. with Ryan Gosling as a leading man. Apparently, it's now been a sequel's now in the works. They're going to develop this into some sort of franchise. I mean, I think as an action film, it's fairly generic. The action set pieces are like, what the hell? There's a lot of maybe slightly ropey CGI, but I just think Ryan Gosling as a leading man, he just seems to elevate everything like considerably. So I still had a good time. I still enjoyed it. One comment I would say is that the dialogue felt almost like it was AI generated.
I've read something about that.
People were saying
like
some weird
automatically
stuff.
written.
Automatically written, but people were saying some weird stuff. I'll tell you what it did make me think of, though. Anna de Armas, who obviously, I was going to say needs to, so obviously she's great in Knives Out, Blade Runner, No Time to Die. She gets a bit of an action set piece, but she's not in it all that much. She is in the Marilyn Monroe biopic as well. She needs an action film, or at least like a big studio.
Wasn't the talk of her character from No Time to Die having her own spin-off?
Yeah, possibly. But there's a moment in this, right? Again, I won't spoil the Grey Man, but there's a moment like this where she's got a few weapons, and I thought, so she's running along, she's got a few weapons, one of which is an RPG, and in my head I was thinking, imagine if the Nemesis was chasing her. It would be perfect. And then it got me thinking Anna de Armas as Jill Valentine, but
make it happen.
Make it happen. A man can dream.
Stream that Resident Evil series a few more times, Ben. Get the numbers in.
Yeah. Also on Netflix, I've been all over the Netflix. There's a documentary called The Girl in the Picture, or just Girl in the Picture. True crime documentary about a bad man doing a bad thing. Pretty depressing, to be fair. Felt like the chronicles of bad times. But fairly well made documentary. But sometimes you watch a documentary and you're like, I don't really know what message I'm walking away from is, other than that was horrible. So
yeah, some people absolute shitters, absolute bastards.
And also I watched a new Shudder exclusive documentary about the metal band Gwar. So obviously this is an outrageous chronicle. I've said chronicle more than once to describe things now, of the history of Gwar. Metal band with a gimmick that's probably more famous than their music. Do you know much about Gwar? They're basically
don't know a thing about Gwar.
Basically metal with unbelievably over the top costumes. I think the story is they're supposed to be like barbarians from outer space. Okay. I wouldn't consider myself a fan, but I enjoy music documentaries, and obviously like metal's a genre I'm a fan of, so enjoyed this to a degree. But there's a lot of like infighting and ego, which I guess you wouldn't expect from a band that seems a bit silly, and that kind of soured what I thought should have been like a fond look back at 20 30 years of a career. But so that's on Shudder. I don't know, I guess it's on Shudder because
it's a metal band,
like a horror metal band. So that's worth checking out.
How was the end of your Crystal Lake experience? Because you were halfway through last week. We finished that now.
I finished it. So yeah, just as good as the first one. The first half got me thinking, God, I can't remember there being this many Friday the 13th movies. But yeah, some good stuff about Jason X, some good stuff about about Freddy versus Jason as well.
One day we'll get to Jason X. One day. I don't know how many years it's going to be, because we've only, those franchises we've done 3 Nightmare on Elm Streets. We've only done original.
One.
We've not done any films with actual Jason in it. He's only in the last little bit, his little frog boy.
I didn't know Kane Hodder, probably like one of the most famous Jason actors, didn't come into it till like super late.
Yeah,
he was
later,
like debuted in what? Later than that, I think. Friday the 13th part 7.
Jason versus Carrie.
Part 7, part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. That's the 4 ones. It's weird because when you think about Jason, but then from watching this documentary, it's a lot of like obviously stunt men who do it, and a few people who like had absolutely no idea about the character or horror movies really. They're just like, okay, let's give it a go. But yeah, obviously it's slightly longer than the Nightmare on Elm Street one. There's 7 hours in total, but obviously I've watched it over the course of a fair few.
That's nice. I might have to get and watch that. And have you got both of those book versions on your wish list forever now to keep a lookout for?
they're on my wish list. But
out of print and incredibly expensive.
Out of print and incredibly expensive. But I did buy a book this week called VHS Cover Art. It's like 1980s, early 90s. It's like a coffee table book. Thomas Hodge is the author. Saw a few people posting about it over the course of like the last couple of years, I guess. And I was thought, that's good. And I thought, I wonder how much that is. I had a little look and I thought, get that ordered. Turned up today, so I've been flicking through some good stuff. There's a Spookies cover in there.
Oh,
aye. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's kind of like, it's not just horror, a lot of other sort of like genre stuff and B movie stuff and exploitation films. Looking forward to maybe at bedtime tonight I'll have a little look at it.
Have a little glance through. Don't have nightmares though. Look at something nice afterwards.
Look at something nice afterwards. My reflection.
Yeah. Turn your phone off. Have a quick look in that black mirror. Oh, it's a little face there.
Look at my cold dead eyes.
Okay. But also, tell you what else we both watched. We've watched The Legend of Matthew Hopkins himself, aka the Witchfinder General, aka what's the other title?
The worm boy. Was it the something worm?
The bastard worm boy.
The conqueror worm. Leave the children. So this is one of the taglines for it as well. Leave the children home, and if you are squeamish, stay home with them. What? So the tagline.
Don't go and see this film.
The tagline for the movie is "Don't come and see it." Okay, so let's just quickly mention what this film's about. So, Witchfinder General, titled on screen as Matthew Hopkins, Witchfinder General, which you might notice. I was like, is that the actor or is that no? Because it's Vincent Price. Is a 1968 British-made historical horror film directed by Michael Reeves and starring Vincent Price, Ian Ogilvy, Hilary Dwyer, Robert Russell, and Rupert Davies. It's based on Ronald Bassett's novel of the same name. It's not heavenly. Opposite. Heavily fictionalized account of the murderous witch hunting exploits of Matthew Hopkins, a lawyer. God, just stay at home and do some lawyering. Who falsely claimed to have been appointed as a Witchfinder General by Parliament during the English Civil War to root out sorcery and witchcraft. But the main plot is based around a young soldier seeks to put an end to the evils caused by vicious witch hunter Matthew what's his name?
Matthew Hopkins.
Matthew Hopkins. It doesn't sound like it sounds like the name of I don't know, someone down the road. When the latter terrorizes his fiancée and kills her uncle. How is this film rated? So 6.7 on IMDb, 3.4 on Letterboxd, Rotten Tomatoes, 88% critic score, pretty damn high, 66% audience score. Got some choice reviews here. Josh Lewis says, brutal. Why fear Satan when the beastly apocalyptic practices of man already exist? 4 stars. Sarah Payton says, a depressing documentary about Daily Mail readers in the olden days. 3.5 stars. And Willow McClay says, man is evil, long live the witch. 4 stars. So yeah, there we go.
I liked it then quite well, reasonably well.
Yeah, a lot of. I mean, some of those scores are pretty high. Is this the first time for you seeing a Witchfinder?
Yeah, first time I've seen the Witchfinder of any kind. But this one, just general Witchfinder, good to start with. Yeah, the first time I'd ever seen this.
Yeah, first time for me as well.
Oddly enough, I more recently watched the BBC sitcom with Tim Key and
Daisy May
Cooper, which also has Reece Shearsmith appears in one episode as Matthew Hopkins.
Oh wow, okay, Reece Shearsmith. He's in A Field in England, which is like the same sort of era as well, right? Definitely the same sort of outfit.
Yeah. And like I'd be surprised how when watching that series, it's got a very similar feel to it. Like it's filmed in the same way, and the Witchfinders are not that exaggerated even in this comedy to what they are over here.
Yeah, because I mean, just right bastards, aren't they? There's bastards going around causing problems for everybody, like unnecessarily, like Karens, aren't they? They're like people who just want to cause issues just for the sake of causing issues. They're going, I think you're a bloody witch. I think you're
just causing all sorts of bother. And yeah, this is when we first started, when this first came up, and when I first saw, like, I caught the trailer of it, I caught a few clips online before I got ready to watch it. My first thought was, is this going to be a horror movie? Is this going to be one of these where we're sitting there going, was this a horror film by the end? But I'm convinced that it was.
Yeah, I mean, initially it feels like a sort of period drama. Sure, exaggerated, is a bit campy in place. Actually, I say that it's not like overacting in terms of campy, but it just got this sort of like campy style to it. But yeah, I definitely felt the Hammer horror sort of influences as time went on. With some of the characters, I guess not all that gory, because the blood just looked like red paint, and there's definitely a plastic axe used. I guess some of the witch killing stuff is pretty effective.
Some burning we get later is harrowing. But yeah, I kind of like some of the acting. Like Vincent Price is on fire on this one. He's all over it, and he's like the most sinister man. But some of the other characters as well. I think there are some really good performances to pull out of this. But where do we begin? We begin with this one. Tell you what, we begin with someone being dragged along to church, which is, as a youth, we used to go to church occasionally. My parents wanted to give me a good Christian upbringing, and every month, like normally church would be fine, right? Because you'd go, and it would be you'd nip off to Sunday school, which mostly meant that you pissed about and did things that weren't sitting still listening. You did some coloring, or you take some toys with you. Take a boglin with me, but then occasionally you'd take like every month there was what they called still remember this now, they had like what was called a family service, which meant you just go and do the regular church bit. You just sit and you'd go through the whole service altogether. There wasn't a Sunday school that the kids would chip off to. But as far as I'm aware, the sermon being delivered wasn't one that would be engaging for kids as well. Maybe our vicar just wasn't much of a showman. He certainly wasn't Father Paul from Midnight Mass. I wasn't up in arms going, yeah. What happened was, it was just a week that you couldn't take toys to entertain yourself with church, and just sat there for an hour, incredibly bored. And this is in a pre-Jurassic Park era, so I couldn't just sit there and imagine the plot of that film in my head.
Yeah. You couldn't take a boglin. Couldn't even take a boglin.
Couldn't even take your mini boglins. Couldn't take your battle beasts with you. Couldn't take your monster in my pockets. You just had to sit there and be incredibly bored.
Yeah.
But so that's what this woman, I'm guessing this is what this woman was having now. That was me going to church. I was like,
no, don't take me to church. So, I mean, in terms of cast, obviously I know we got Vincent Price as Matthew Hopkins, and then he's got like his crew of Witchfinder people. How did he convince them to come finding witches with him? I bet he just said, what's wrong in your life? Oh, wife's left me. I'm earning no money. I've barely got anything to eat. And he went, do you know whose fault that is? Mine.
But women, witches.
Witches, sometimes men, but they've usually been spellbound, bedazzled.
Or men that I just don't like, think they're wrong.
Men that I don't like, yeah. If anyone disagrees with me, right, initially I'm going to think, you might be a witch. And then there's...
His mate John Stern, I think, just comes along with him because he likes thumping people and stabbing them and being a bad man.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a wrong one, and he's someone you like to punch in the face. Ian Ogilvy plays the Richard Marshall, who's like the soldier, I guess, the soldier guy who.
I kind of want. He hero. Looked really familiar. I just want to see what else he is. He's in. He's in Death Becomes Her. He's in The Puppet Master. Oh, there's a blast from the past.
Let's see.
Yeah.
And then we got Hilary Dwyer, who's Sarah. So yeah, obviously like Richard Marshall's, I guess, like the hero of the piece. Sarah Lowe's is like the heroine. And then the rest of them is just, people who are accused of being witches. Oliver Cromwell's in it as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is Oliver Cromwell.
Cromwell
makes a little appearance.
He makes it, I think, just a minor appearance. Some great hairstyles, which have to be
incredible hairstyles of the era. Vincent Price, most among them.
Incredible hairstyles of the era. Some great costumes as well. Like some of the costumes are really good. And the dialogue is pretty great as well. You know, some of it is funny, but not in a, funny just because it's silly.
Just because of the age, right?
Just because of the age. I think someone says you and your mates are just hanging around there wanking or something like that. You guys, something like that.
At one point, like there is John Stern is in like is in a bawdy mood. He's in like a pub, and for some
He's
like
always in a bawdy mood.
He's in a pub in a bawdy mood, and then he's roused about in with a woman, and he's like he doesn't like drops
pours a beer on her head.
That was earlier. Later on, I'm thinking one where he drops like a potato wedge down this woman's blouse or something like that. And she goes, "Oh, you dirty rascal."
He's got away with women. What's that? He's having a laugh with her. He's grabbing this woman. She's screaming. She wants to get away. For some reason, he doesn't take that as a reason to let go of her. Pours a beer over the both of them.
Yeah, and like pours a beer over both of them. Obviously, this cost of living. There wasn't a cost of living crisis then. John Stern, probably a couple of coppers for a big old tankard of ale.
Yeah, delicious.
You can waz them over your head all day long. Cheaper than showers.
Yeah, another one in. And obviously there is a great bar fight, but we'll get into that. So it does start. So it's 1645 during the English Civil War, and the first thing we see is Matthew Hopkins. Although he's kind of watching from afar at this moment, isn't he? He's not. He's just physically involved.
He has a dramatic reveal in a little bit. First, it's just a woman being dragged along by some people that are like a mob is dragging this lady along with ropes, and there is a priest who's doing his things. Made me wonder at the time, has that priest rehearsed and found like a bit of scripture that takes exactly the right amount of time to walk between that woman's house and the gallows?
He had to read a bit out. Really, he was doing a bit, but he was doing it really slowly.
Yeah, and God said very, 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 very quietly. And he just padding it out with some extra words. But whether it's by look or by judgment, he gets there and he finishes the scripture just in time for this lady to be put up on the gallows and hanged.
Yeah. So obviously we're made for some information we get later on. We're understanding they've obviously done all the tests on her.
Yep.
And then she's passed with flying colors as a witch, and then they're going, get yourself hanged. You're being hanged. It seems, do you know what I mean? It seems no matter what the outcome is, you're either drowned, stabbed, or hanged.
Yeah, if you manage to die just right, then they might go, you're actually good. So
you're actually good.
You're in heaven now.
But then what? They're in heaven, and the person who killed her, what? Is just like, don't worry.
Did my best mistakes happen?
Yeah, it just seems pretty nuts. And after they hang, then we see that Matthew Hopkins is watching from afar on horseback, and there's like a zoom, and then it freeze frames on
goes
him.
To like pastel colors pre-credits. You can tell
it's the Witchfinder General.
Some lovely hey nonny nonny music. So I tell you what, you can tell a certain era of film when you get a pre-credits. It's not uncommon. Even today, you'll get a title and a little bit of the directed and starring, but of a certain era of film, you've got like key grip, you've got music and sound effects by. You've got a full 2 or 3 minutes credits with some stills to go before the film begins. In many ways, great, right? You're making sure people's credits are there, not people walking out. You haven't got to put in a post-credit scene to get people to sit through who made the film.
Yeah. Absolutely ideal. So obviously, civil war's happening, and apparently because of like the breakdown in social order, that's why he's decided to come in and go, I'm going to do all these burning of witches, suspected witches, because because of the Civil War, there's not people knocking about who are there to stop me, essentially.
I just do what I like, really. Yeah, and you see, like,
apparently they also charge the local magistrates for the work they carry out.
get a couple of silvers out of them.
All right, local magistrates. Yeah, you're right. Hopkins, Matthew Hopkins, is it? Yeah, that's me. I've killed 19 witches, right? And I'm gonna need at least a guinea and a half
Each
for each witch, right? Okay. Who have you got a list of who they are? No. Do you know their names, or like, because some of them might have been quite key members of our community? You know, have you just come in and murdered
all these women and men,
all these, and some men? I've chucked a couple of men in there. Out of the 19, how many of them were men? There was a man. There was one man.
There was
18
one man.
other women.
I mean,
but that's just
he did have long hair, so
that's just the way the cookie crumbles occasionally. Anyway, here's your bill for killing the witches. If anything, like, you're ruining our town by coming in and killing all these people. Everyone's devastated. They're never going to get over it.
In many ways, Matthew Hopkins, this was just a get rich quick scheme of the era. I put it to you that Matthew Hopkins and his assistant, they're basically a more sinister 1600s version of Keenan and Kel.
Right. Okay.
But they've just got like Keenan, aka Matthew Hopkins, has got himself a get rich quick scheme, and John is just in it for the orange soda, aka beer.
Beer. Yeah, he loves swilling a beer. He'll have it. He'll drink a beer. He'll bathe in a beer.
Who would have thought?
He'll have a bar fight.
That hundreds of years after them, they would go on to inspire Keenan and Kel.
I mean, I gotta admit, when watching this, it didn't cross my mind once, but now you say it.
And there's that bit where they say, here goes. Just like it.
See, now I'm going, did I?
No, they don't.
Devastated.
Coolio does the soundtrack.
Those two gads have got... Coolio he definitely does the main theme. Because they've got a weird relationship, Matthew Hopkins and John Stern. Because at one point he like leaves him to die, and then he's like, "Oh, well, you got out of it, didn't you? That's right. Now, are you going to be my mate again, or I'm going to have to shoot you?"
This is they have got like a really like fractious relationship from the beginning bit. You see them come into town, and John Stern goes, "All right, Matthew, where we go next?" He goes, "Oh, for fuck's sake, don't call me Matthew. You can call me you can call me Mr. Hopkins, aka the Witchfinder General. Don't call me that. Don't call me Matthew, my name."
That's all you can say. Don't call me Matthew. Definitely don't call me Matt. If you call me Matt, I'm gonna be like, "You're
all
a
right,
witch."
Matty. All right, that's it, witch.
Matty. Yeah. So you've got so I think round about now is when we're introduced to Richard Marshall, the young Roundhead, and some of his colleagues.
They're doing a lovely bit of just walking through the forest, and then some cavalier snipers. One of them just one of the dudes just they're going to rest the horse. That's it. They're having a ride, and they're riding through the countryside, and one of his mates, the soldier, like says, "Oi, stop you thinking about that." And he's like, "I know what I'm thinking about." It's like,
reading my mind.
You're thinking about you're a witch reading my mind. You're like, you've thinking about some rumpy pumpy with your fiance, aren't you? And he's like, "Don't know what you're talking about. It's love, mate. It's love." And then the captain turns around and goes, like,
"Pure false."
He's like, "Shut up, you two. We're gonna." And he's like, it's not like he's not really telling him off. It's just like, a little bit of he's into it. He's like, "Hey, less of that chat, you. We're being soldiers now. Basically, though, we're going to stop in a minute and give the horses a rest. You can have a chat then." So, in many ways, he's a very fair boss because he only wants them to have a fun when the horses also. He don't want them to ride along to get the horses thinking, "Fucking hell, anyone taking this job seriously? Here's me walking." They can have a chat when the horses can have a rest.
Excuse me. Yeah. Are you thinking about a little bit of rumpy pumpy with your other half? What? No, I wasn't, but I am now. You unpure false.
Stop it.
Disgusting.
So when they stop for that little rest, just 15 minutes, little break time, like at school, little break.
Yeah.
Get your Kit Kats out, and they're there having their little Derry Dunkables, and then some horrid Cavalier snipers come out, shoot one of their mates in the back.
Yeah.
So the others go, right, we'll sort this out. You, Richard, you stay and guard the horses, because horses are like the greatest commodity in this world. Everyone wants horses. Comes up a few times. It's like the canoes in the burning. Everyone wants them.
Don't let the horses get taken out. But yeah, it would be done for.
So they go off, and then it's an interesting scene where there's an action sequence going on somewhere else, because the other soldiers are fighting and killing the Cavaliers. But we don't see that. We just see Richard sort of standing there like,
really, what's going on here? This seems really intense.
And then the others come. He gets a bit worried. He hears like a rustling in the bushes, and we see one of the soldiers like crawling up through the bracken towards them. Then he's like, Captain. He then goes, yeah, it's us actually. We're back. They're having a lovely chat and having good fun. And then Richard sees a Cavalier's coming out, and he's going to shoot the captain. And he blows him away, point blank range almost with his pistol.
And then he's not very thankful, is he, the captain? He's kind of like, oh, that was a lucky shot. Did he say something like that?
He's like, yeah,
grazed me.
He's like, you've got a bit of soot on my uniform from that, but I do appreciate that you shot that bloke in the head and saved my life. So
thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
And this is the first instance I think of when we see the blood in this movie, which is just red poster paint.
Yeah, the red, not the color of blood in the least, like fire engine red.
Fire engine red poster paint. Maybe people's blood was like that in the 1645. You never know.
Different diet. We don't know. We're not there.
Different diet. Obviously, we're inhaling fumes constantly from different chemicals, and
it was red then.
Big old hole in the ozone. Wait, no, it's been sorted now, isn't it? The old hole in the ozone.
Cracked off with we jacked in the CFCs. Now that's all right. Now it's just other things that are knackered.
Yeah. So after surviving that, it says here a brief skirmish. I love the word skirmish. That's the first enemy soldier he killed, apparently. So he rides home to Brandeston, Suffolk, and has to visit his lover Sarah. And Sarah's the niece of the village priest John Lowes. He's a bit annoying, isn't he? I'm always supposed to feel kind of sorry for him when things go south.
Inconsistent, isn't he? Because he goes, "Oh, my friend Richard, come on in, have a drink with me. What a lovely time. So good to see you." Second he's in and the door's closed, he's like, "I personally don't think it's good for you to be off killing good Christian men for stupid Oliver Cromwell."
And then he says something about, "Oh, I've got a farm." And he's like, "I'm not interested in your poorly kept lands." It's like, steady on. I was telling you about my farm.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'll move back. Like he's kind of like trying to like he's like, "Oh, you know, we did think there's lots of opportunities in other towns." He's like, "You would take Sarah away from here?" And he's like, "Oh no, I mean, obviously I wouldn't. Like, I'd love her to stay here and, you know, be near her family. I've got this farm." And that's when he goes out there. "I don't care about your bloody farm. Actually, I want you to take her away." So that was kind of a trap I set there. I want you to take her away. If you're
having a conversation with him would be absolutely like exhausting when you never know if you're coming or going. But he
tread on blood and eggshells.
But he does give us permission essentially to marry, and that's the thing. Like, let's look at this as well. There's a lot of 1645 attitudes to women and roles for women in this. They immediately, when Sarah walks in, he goes, here's your fella. Now don't forget to get the dinner done on time."
Yeah, I do expect dinner at the regular time.
And there's a lot of talk of, like, you know, the good wives, you know, should do this and that. And I think even Richard at one point goes, "Do you know how to do this?" And she goes, "No." And he goes, "I'll teach you." It's like, well, Richard, you make a good wife for somebody, I think.
I think that was I reckon that was his segue to fucking. But the first bit, he goes, "Oh, being in the army's taught you some rough manners," because he catches her hair on his watch or something. He's like, been there. It's like, "Oh, it's just my watch."
And then he says something like, sorry, this is going back to the priest, but he says something like, "Oh, make sure she goes to bed, because a good woman needs 8 hours sleep if they're going to get up in the morning to make my Weetabix." Like, way your Weetabix yourself, village priest John Lowe's.
Yeah, at least in this time, we really can say at least it was set in a different time. I'm more comfortable. I mean, in an ideal world, I can't change that. Things would have been a lot less bullshit from a long time ago, but at least this time it is 1600. It's not 1985.
Yeah, it's not 1985. But to be honest, there probably were still some very similar outlooks from people, maybe even village priests. But yeah, and then Richard basically uses that to his advantage because he goes, "Did you hear that? He said you got to get to bed early." And he's a wise man, and then she goes, "Yes, he is." And he sees that as a perfect opportunity to get his end away.
Richard has come to this little village after war. DTF, he's ready.
Well, if he's just done his first murder, and
how do you celebrate that?
How do you celebrate that? What gets you in the mood more than seeing a dead man in the undergrowth covered in red poster paint?
But yeah, once you've blasted someone's face off, there's only one way to.
Yeah, and then we get like a very whimsical sex scene with a lot of open
mouths. Just a lot of putting open mouths against each other.
Was French kissing sort of a thing in 1645, or just a lovely little peck?
France has been invented then. I don't know.
A lovely little peck. Oh, I love you so much.
Maybe they hadn't perfected it yet. That's why it's a bit awkward. I've heard about this over on the continent, but they haven't. Yeah. They haven't. Of course, there's no telly. You can't have watched it. So,
yeah, exactly.
I've heard you open your mouth and just put them near each other.
Yeah, exactly. So when does Marshall leave?
Well, Marshall gets up the next day and goes, "Right, best get back to war then. You only get a day off for every person you kill.
Yeah,
only got one. So I've got to go back to work. And on the way out, it might be the nighttime actually when he leaves, because it's nighttime. There's some villagers that just hanging about, and he's like, "All right," and he knows them because these are local villagers where he's from. That's all right, mate. What are you doing? You looking out for something? He goes, "Oh no, looking out for the lawyer Matthew Hopkins. He's coming in. Oh, I'll tell you. I'll tell them I see him.
He's on his way."
He rides along, and then he does see Matthew Hopkins and says,
"Gives him directions.
All right, what's your name? Matthew Hopkins, the lawyer." He's, "Yeah, I am actually.
I'm a well-to-do lawyer on my way to your village just to do lawyer things. That's all."
"All right, not doing anything bad, are you?" "No, good actually. The Lord's work." "Oh, okay. So that way."
That's good to know. Phew.
They're waiting out for you.
They're waiting out for that. Hopefully my betrothed and village priest John Lowe's will be happy to see you. Yeah. But immediately when Hopkins and Stern arrive, like they can't even. They've had a long journey. They don't even want to sit down and chill out for a while. Have a Capri Sun. Split a Capri Sun. They don't even want to do that. They immediately start rounding up suspects and accusing everybody of being a witch.
I think you're right. I've heard that priest's no good. Maybe the local magistrate, because they did say, Sarah says there's been a few problems. There's been people daubing stuff on the walls, and they've been like having a go at them. So maybe it is the priest has fallen foul of some local people, probably the people waiting out there, and they've said, "Oh, Matthew Hopkins, our local priest, he shushed me in church."
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like an excuse for people with bad intentions to just get rid of people that they don't particularly like.
I tell you what, his family service is ever so boring. Couldn't take my boggling. That'd be little 1600s me.
Couldn't take my boggling. It was pre-Jurassic Park, so I couldn't imagine the plot of it in my head.
Yeah. So because I'd been bored in church, I'd had time to imagine, what if that priest's a witch? It'd be funny, but that'd be a turn up for the books, wouldn't it? You think priest, the opposite of a witch, but actually, what if he's the same?
What if he's, yeah.
And then you tell that to Matthew Hopkins, and him and John Stern will come, and they'll sort it right out. And they do. They go straight round. Yeah, but the priest doesn't even add his Weetabix yet in the morning, and they're right to it.
Yeah, they're right to it. They're right going, "You're a bloody witch. In fact, have this needle in your back. That's how we locate the devil's mark.
Yeah,
You just
the
have a
devil's
little
mark.
poke about in your back, stab you.
Yeah, the devil's mark. Apparently, if you're mates with the devil, he puts a mark on you so we can recognize you.
Yeah, that's
It's like
it. He puts his mark on you,
it's like stamping your hand when you come out of a nightclub so you can get back in.
but it's like but it's like an inside mark. Oh, it's just something I got. Have you got a stamp on your hand so you can come back in? Well, yeah, I have, but it's actually inside my hand. Like,
You have to stab that to look at it. But it's okay because if you've got one, you can stab it and it won't hurt.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I can't quite remember exactly where it is, so you're just gonna have to start stabbing about until you find it.
So and John Stern loves it just on the meatiest parts of your back. Just poke a screwdriver in there or whatever it is he's got.
And then what's the next bit? Like running around the table?
We never see that happen. But
get him running. He says, "Get him running,
get him running," and some of their associates just get the table out.
Oh, bloody hell! Oh, I've just been stabbed in the back loads right now. Go and do 800 meters, or if you could do 800 meters in a respectable time, we'll let you go. All right.
Do you reckon what they do is they put the table on and the tablecloth, and by running, you've got to pull it out and not knock over all the plates and candelabras and stuff. If you can do that trick, but while running, then
right, if you can do that, we'll let you go. But then you do it, and then they go, "That was good, actually, almost too good. I think you're a witch."
Yeah, or
can't fucking win.
That was the trick. I told you to do it. A good Christian person would have knocked all those plates on the floor, but only a magician, aka the devil, could have pulled those things out.
David Blaine. It's just annoying, isn't it? It's like you're either a good Christian, yeah, or a witch. Frustrating.
Yeah. So we never know what the running on the table thing is, but thanks to Matthew Hopkins' other thing, because he's just going out the front door, and Sarah comes back in. She's heard that there's things going awry with her uncle, the priest. And she meets Matthew Hopkins at the door, and he's like, "You're his niece. He could have corrupted you." She says, "Oh no, I'm a foundling, like Baby Yoda. I was found, and I've been raised by them. I work as a servant for the family." And I don't know if that's true or not, but
I feel like I feel like she's thinking on her feet to try and. She obviously knows what these guys are about, and she's trying to separate herself from being related so they don't automatically. But it just doesn't seem to work in her favor. What?
Matthew Hopkins, apparently famous horn dog as well, because he's like, "Tell you what, there could be some good evidence about this. Could you, if I could pop round to yours, we could talk about it privately in your bedroom, maybe
at midnight." Well, you already know that I need 8 hours sleep a night, so 8 o'clock is probably better.
8 o'clock done by half-past.
But again, another horrible horn dog. Well, horn dog makes it sound quite, well-to-do. No, again,
dirty
old man who's he's in this racket just for himself, either to murder people he doesn't like and to get his end away. And Sarah's obviously terrified, but she's trying to almost kind of woo him in a way just to stop him straight up murdering her uncle. Because I think he even says at one point, "Yeah, we're probably just gonna have to do him in."
He's like, "Yeah, to be fair, I'm probably just gonna have to torture him to death. It's probably the only way." She's like,
"Do you have to?
Do you have to?" Well, he's running on the table now. So
what happens here between her and Hopkins? Does she
basically? I think it's implied, because she goes, "Yeah, come round at 8," and then they go to the pub to finish. She says, "Oh, we can do that if you let him go right now." Matthew Hopkins goes back inside and goes, "I'll put him in prison, will you? No more torture." And John Marston's like, "Oh,
John Marston."
Not John Marston.
John Marston from Red Dead Redemption.
It's not John Marston.
He turns up and he goes, "Get out of here, y'all."
Terrible, so what are you doing here?
Impression.
So
what are you doing here?
He's a witch.
He's definitely a witch. He's got a big scar on his face.
They go to the pub. The others do. John Stern. That's when he's roused about. Him and his mates are there with the party girls down the pub.
Oh yeah.
He's there. That's when he tips that beer over him, and it's like a little trick. It's like 3, 2, 1, beer.
They're just being proper. Like, you can't think that these guys are doing the God's work. They're lager louts. See, from the 1600s, lager louts. And doesn't John Stern like force himself upon Sarah as well?
He does later.
Yeah.
I think that is almost one because he's a bad bloke, and two because he's kind of in the business of trying to fuck over Matthew Hopkins as well.
Yeah, it seems like that. He's kind of like anything Hopkins does.
He's like
John Stern wants to do.
Spoil that because they hate each other.
The same but worse.
It's like they have a real toxic work environment because he's like, I'm not does bloody torturing, but he can get in the confessions done. Why aren't I the Witchfinder? Why aren't I the John Stern General?
Because you're an absolute knobhead. That's
yeah,
why. Actually,
and you've got the same outfit as the dungeon master from Nightmare, dressed as bloody Treguard, in his bodkin and his jerkin.
Bodkin. Take off my bodkin and my jerkin.
So he's at the pub doing like it feels like, you know, that bit in The Visit where they ask where they're trying to act natural and the little boy goes, "This is how children play," and he's like throwing that ball up in the air and just turning around. It's like that, but like someone told John Hopkins, just be like an absolute lad. And he was like, he's just like jeering and like chucking his beers around. But basically what they're doing, they're years before football is invented, they're just in the pub going, oh, just like doing
down it, down it, down it, down it, down it.
Doing football songs for a sport that does not yet exist. Yeah. Like I don't know if football existed by that time or not. That was probably if it did, it was the day when you just had a big fight in the street, not like on a field.
Throwing plastic chairs around in Paris. That's how you do it. So
that's him. And then Matthew Hopkins goes, "I'm going out for a bit." He goes, "Oh, yeah, really? Right. Where are you off to?" And he's like, "None, yeah." None, yeah, what's that? None of your fucking business, John Hopkins. You stay here. You stay tipping beers over people's heads. And he goes round to see Sarah, and that's where he carries on saying, like, "Yeah, probably gonna have to absolutely fuck your uncle up." And she goes, "Oh, don't." And he starts unbuttoning her blouse a bit, and he says, "Oh, don't." I said, "Oh, I'm gonna have to though." He said, "Oh, I could just keep him in prison forever, I guess." And she goes, "Yeah, that'd be all right." And then I think it's implied that she then sleeps with him as a way to gather mercy for her uncle.
Okay.
Because the next day, Matthew Hopkins turns up. And like John Stern has just drank until he's collapsed on the floor of the pub.
Yeah.
And he's like, he just comes and boots him because it's bloody noon.
I'm absolutely tanked right up, all right?
He goes, it's noon, get up, you got work to do. And to be fair to Johnny Stern, he's straight back up when he goes, "I'm ready, mate.
I'm ready. That's all I need. I've had half hour's kip. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to start on the beers again.
I'm ready to go. I'll go and do some more torture, and I'll start with the priest." He goes, "Oh, no, actually, not the priest. He's just staying in prison now. You leave him alone, all right?" And he goes,
"Leave him bloody alone."
And he's suspicious already because again, they're toxic working environment. He doesn't like working with him. He's like, "All right, it's funny, isn't it? Funny about that." So he just goes. Then he goes back to a standard operation. They've captured some women, and he just slaps them in the face and screams at them to confess.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And this is essentially when the priest and then 2 women get essentially executed. They get dunked into a river, don't they, over the side of a bridge.
That is the priest after, because at the minute he's told them to leave him alone. But Matthew Hopkins has to go away for a bit. He leaves John in charge. That's when he forces himself on Sarah. And then when Matthew comes back, he's like, well, actually, this is does Richard come and send Sarah away? Is that? No, not quite yet. So I've lost a little bit of track here. But
back, didn't they?
There is something where John Stern gets it over on Matthew to basically, he's implied, "Oh, why are you leaving him alone? Is it just because of this girl?" And he's like, I kind of have
much
to get
that.
rid of him now.
Yeah, pretty much that. And I think that's when it leads to the priest actually getting executed, right?
Yeah, and that's the bit you were talking about there, where they go and they goes, right, is the, fair play, Matthew Hopkins. You didn't just go for the slightly dubious confession. Double checks. He goes, right. You have all confessed. He goes, you have all confessed, and that's fine, because obviously that is enough, because you've confessed to being witches. Good on you for confessing eventually.
Nice one.
But we have to make sure, because we don't want to, of course, perish the thought we would execute someone unfairly. So we'll do another test just to make sure, even though you've confessed. So just to be sure, like, this isn't my fault if this doesn't go well. You're going to be tied up in a prescribed way, and we'll dip you in the river.
Sounds fair.
If you sink, that actually means you were good and it was a false confession. So soz, but that's okay, because you go to heaven, and that's nice for you, isn't it? But if you float or swim, then that means that's the devil. That is.
That's the devil. He's like, well, I can't actually get out of this situation. There's physically no way of me getting out of it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, could you sink and almost drown, but not quite?
How long can you hold your breath for? Not
I reckon as long as that scene went, because then he dipped him in. It's like making a cup of tea in a rush.
But then in 1600, is 1600. Can many people swim? Like, there's not many schemes. There's not many swimming baths around. There's just a stream and a river and stuff. You don't really need to, especially if you don't live on the coast.
You certainly weren't diving for pearls like that boy in that advert, were you?
No.
Remember that one? That advert with that
I do
boy in
remember
the pearls?
that advert, yeah. What was it?
I used to try it. I think it's like for a bank or something like that. I used to try and hold my breath for the entire length of that advert.
Yeah. Andy, you all right? Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, so technically, if I'd been sent back there at the right time when that advert was screening regularly, might have been all right. I could have got away with it. Just held my breath.
There we go.
But these guys haven't got that. So one of them dies. Says, "Oh."
They say, "Oh, one of them's gone already." Yeah, it is properly like that attitude, isn't it?
You probably would try, actually. If the alternative was that you're going to be executed by him, you'd Padme it as soon as they put you near that water.
Yeah.
Have a big breath out and just try your best to drown.
Dead already? Yeah, gone.
Yeah, and now some of you might feel a bit guilty because you don't think I was a witch. But two of them, at least, so the priest and another woman, they come up and they go, "Well, that tears it. You're definitely a witch, hanged." And then we just see the priest and the woman from a tree, don't we?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just a hanging, just a classic hanging. And then we go after this like horrific act. Richard Marshall, sorry.
Richard, he's been getting some more osses from a farmer.
That's right. And they're having a bit of a dispute about the quality of the horses here, aren't they? I think he says like, "Oh, these horses better be the ones I had from this place." And he goes, "Well, actually, the horses you have from that place are actually shit, and my horses are all right." And they're all equally shit.
They're all equally shit. And that place that you're talking about, where you're from, they've also got shit horses because they've got bigger fish to fry. The other day I was there, and there was the Witchfinder General around. He
moves the plot along nicely.
But he's been hanging people, including a priest. He goes,
"Is it like 2 days away though? 2 days ride or something like that?"
It's a little way, yeah. And
imagine setting off in anger, ready to or worried about someone's well-being, and knowing you're not going to know what's happened until 2 days.
Yeah, can't text them.
Can't text them. I get worried when somebody says, "Quick, I got to have a chat." "Oh, what's wrong? Tell me what's wrong now, because I'm worried." "Oh, it's only this." "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
2 days of worry. I'll be going spare.
Yeah. Karen gets it. One of her friends who very, very nicely will basically, she's used to it now, but for a period of time she'd message and say, "Are you free to chat?" And it is basically, "Are you free to chat?" Because it's nice to have a chat. But for a while she'd be like, "Oh shit, is she okay? Is there a problem? Is there something that's gone wrong?" And
I've got some terrible news to share.
Yeah, so but yeah, it'd be like that. So yeah, you couldn't 2 days, not sure you could stay worried or angry for that long.
No way. No, I'd be a completely different person in 2 days. I'd either be over it or I'd be racked with terror.
You rock into town and be like, what was it here for again?
Was it? Oh yeah, someone's written witch on the wall. So when he gets there, there's like no one around initially, is there? Everyone's obviously all the Witchfinder General crew are fucked off, and even everyone they've killed or everyone they haven't killed is just, I guess, indoors, terrified. But he finds Sarah, and initially she like sees him and then runs away. I guess she's obviously
thinks that he might be witch finding as well, maybe, or is ashamed of what's happened because obviously she did sleep with Matthew Hopkins to try and save her uncle.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, isn't it? Really, like part of her is a bit scared. Maybe she doesn't recognize him straight away. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, she runs away, and then when she collapses, she tells him obviously what's happened, and says about what happened with her and John Stern as well. She said she didn't want to. And Richard is just quietly listening to her, and he's seething. You can tell he's absolutely seething,
absolutely furious,
and he does what any man would do when they're just about to vow revenge on those who have killed your betrothed's uncle and then committed a terrible assault on her. He goes, "Do you want to get married?"
Yeah, says, right, we'll get married, and then you take some money, you get off to move to this other town, which is where we wanted to move anyway. You get a move there, and then I'm gonna get amongst it. I'm gonna sort these guys out, and
I'm gonna get amongst it. I'm gonna absolutely fuck them up. It's like he's going John Wick on their asses.
Yeah, he does. He goes John Wicking around to. This is a nice, convenient little meet cute, isn't it? Because he stops at a pub, and he goes, "All right, friend,
can I have a drink to was it to rinse the dust, wash the dust out of my throat?"
Yeah, he goes, "Of course you can, mate. What are you doing in town?" So I'm looking for Matthew Hopkins, actually, and John Stern happens to be in the pub. He's just getting another beer for himself. That's when
again
dropping potato wedges down that woman's top, and she's like, "You dirty rascal!"
He's in a Weatherspoons. Potato wedges. I've just ordered them from the app, and they've just arrived. But get them down your top.
Yeah,
he's had a skinful again.
He's at Curry Club on a Tuesday night. He's there.
Yeah, and then John Stern basically says, "I know Matthew Hopkins." And then I think there's a realization that he's one of the Witchfinder crew.
I actually do all the work. Actually, all the
witch finding.
That's actually me. He's bullshit. Matthew Hopkins is.
Yeah,
I'm actually the biggest Witchfinder. I'm the Witchfinder Supreme.
I'm the Witchfinder Supreme. And then what happens next is a over the top bar fight, which was actually pretty. People are getting thrown in across the room into tables. There's ducking. There's punching. It's
a good little fight. This, I mean, furniture was flimsy in those days.
The bit that made me laugh the most was the landlord twatting Richard,
bops him on the head with a stick.
Bops on the head, but his reaction isn't like KO'd. His reaction is, "Oh, you bastard!" Oh, that came sharp.
Come ever so sharp. He's like, "Oh,
me bloody head."
I don't know about you, but like,
how does he? Do you remember how he gets him back though? How he gets the landlord back?
Oh, gives him the old elbow.
Gives it wins him.
Yeah.
Because he said, I'm gonna take you to the magistrate. You can't come in here and start in a bar fight. He's like,
I'll come with you.
I'll come with you right now. Boom.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. But they have that. That's a good fight until he gets bopped on the head.
Yeah.
He gets bopped on the head by landlord. And I tell you what, must be quite a bopping. Like, obviously, I know a big enough bop on the head will knock you out, but I feel a knock on the head of that magnitude would just enrage you. Have you ever done the thing like, you're putting things away, and usually it's the dishes. You leave a cupboard door open and you bang your head on it when you stand back up. Horrific. Never been so angry. I get so angry. Just like ripping the cupboards off the wall, even though it would mean you have to rebuild your entire house.
You set a trap for yourself and walked right into it.
So you're done for. I love it also when the landlord has bopped Richard on the head. He says to John Stern, "You better go." And he goes, "I am. I'm off."
Yeah, he goes, I'm out of here. Don't need to tell me twice.
He gets on his ass and just rides off as fast as he can.
Yeah, then there's like a chase sequence. Marshall's coming after him. How does he get away, John Stone? Because
goes round the corner. He runs into Matthew Hopkins. He goes, "Oh
horse
shit.
can't turn left."
In here,
Oh, yeah.
in here." They hide in the bushes. Richard rides past. Matthew Hopkins is like, "What's this game? That soldier going past? Is that soldier after you?" He goes,
"He's got a bit fast."
Yeah, I tell you what, that's that soldier. He's Sarah's husband, and straight away Matthew Hopkins, absolute total recall. It's like, Sarah, the oh yeah, we killed her husband. I tricked her into sleeping with me. You raped her as well. Like, he's not happy with us, is he?
He's gonna be fuming.
He is, and then John Stern's like, he's gonna kill us. He's gonna absolutely kill us. He goes, Vincent Price, this is creepy acting. And he's like, you forget about our powers, mate. We'll accuse him of being a witch. We'll kill him.
Yeah. What's that? You want to kill me, do you? Well, I put it to you. You're a witch.
Who, like, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, esteemed judges, who would have the biggest motive for killing the Witchfinder General? A man who is innocent, or someone who is in fact a witch?
There we go.
It makes a very good point. The natural enemy of the Witchfinder General is a witch.
100%. 100%. Vincent Price, Matthew Hopkins is definitely shitting himself. You can see it in his eyes a little bit, though. He's a bit worried, as you would be. Because I guess he's gone around doing this without many consequences this whole time. But now the wrath of a Roundhead is coming full force for him, John Wick style.
Yeah.
So after that,
on the way.
After that, the Witchfinder crew go to Lavenham.
Lavenham, yeah. They're on the way there. Meanwhile, Richard goes back to the base, and his captain basically says, being AWOL, that is a crime punishable by death, but we need all the soldiers we can get right now. And he did shoot that man in the face, so I'll let you off.
Let him off, exactly. He's gone, I'm off on a revenge mission. And they'll go, all right, we can grant that in terms of leave. There are different if you go for HR, a different thing. Revenge mission is one of those you can have a couple of days off for that.
It's like compassionate leave, yeah. So you can have that.
It's just like compassionate leave, exactly.
So he's okay, but you can't do it again because I'll pie you off if you do that. All right,
pie you right off. And doesn't he gets a couple of soldier friends together to help his cause as well, doesn't he?
He kind of says to them, yeah, I tell you what, though, if I ever get a chance to kill Matthew Hopkins and John Stern, I'm going to do it. And so we'll talk about this later. Talk about it later. As luck would have it, though, some of those soldier friends really run into them both just now.
Yeah. Yeah, and then what happens?
They see them and they go, those are some pretty good horses. Yeah. Matthew Hopkins says, well, I'm not selling my horse, so suck shit. I'm not giving it to you.
So a man just can't compliment another man on his horse without you thinking that I'm trying to purchase said horse.
I'm not buying it. It says, well, you are, because this is what you need for the Matthew Hopkins, I guess, calls in the point of the Civil War. So I don't fight for the king, but I also don't fight for you lot either. I got some witch finding to do generally. And then he stitches up John Stern. What does he do now? Does he shoot? He shoots. He doesn't shoot someone's horse and knock them over. They escape, and then he's gone. Yeah. But basically, John Stern gets caught by the soldiers, and Matthew Hopkins escapes.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then, because John Stern gives them some shit, and he goes, well, I'll tell you what, the army you need some army discipline. So basically, they're conscripting him. And then as that's going on, John Stern does escape. He stabs two of the soldiers. He gets shot in the arm for his trouble, but he's escaped, but he's been captured for a number of hours. So he isn't basically in the next place that Matthew Hopkins rides off to. He escapes scot-free and basically turns up at the next town and says, right, John Stern's not here, actually, to the people who he's come to see, the local magistrates who he's come to see. He said, I'm going to deal with this my own way. But don't you worry. I've devised some new methods of seeing who is a witch and how to execute them. Because what I found was that hanging, not quite cruel enough, unfortunately.
No, not quite cruel enough. So the new methods include burning the absolute shite out. I mean, this reminded me of Silent Hill, because obviously I guess this is how it went down, with the horrible ladder lowering onto the flames. Yeah, this was pretty rough. And I guess because the person being accused of being a witch, as a lot of the other victims, are just screaming in agony, don't want to die. And there's like the whole village is watching, little kids are watching, go, what's going on here then?
Little
Just
toothy
burning
peg
a witch.
kids,
Little toothy peg kid.
watching wide-eyed, and her husband's there shouting like, Elizabeth!
Elizabeth's on fire.
He does some shouting, but obviously he's powerless to do anything about it, because I guess it's a nice moment. It's a nice moment that the husband hasn't turned against his wife, but he's being like held back by the mob. He can't do anything to actually save her. So she's not been completely turned on by everyone, but it's cold comfort because can't do anything to stop her being burned up. And Matthew Hopkins lowers her down into the fire to be burned up.
Yeah, and we see her catch a flame from afar, and that's
this is a brutal scene. This is what cements it as a horror movie, because it's
obviously you get, even obviously Wicker Man is in a completely different era. You get those sort of vibes where there's like you're being essentially just murdered, but in the name of some sort of deity. For some reason, that for some reason there's like a whole group of people who are convinced that your death is for the greater good, and there's literally nothing that you can do about it. And these people are very determined to just murder you. And that's the thing. Like a lot of these things are just, it's that person's own shortcomings, or in terms of their faith, is their mind's been completely warped by that faith, that they think that what they're doing is correct. Although I don't think Matthew Hopkins always does think what he's doing is correct. He just loves
he's making his money. He's
making his money,
making his silver,
and he's just murdering people, people that he doesn't like, but also people just willy-nilly, because he's an evil bastard.
Yeah, he's picking out people that, either are actively against him or he doesn't need to care about. They have no value to him, so he's using these murders he can do at random to make his living. And as he's burning Elizabeth, John Stern rocks up and he spots him. And then when this is the other bit, their weird relationship and weird work environment. John Stern turns up and goes, all right, Matthew, you dickhead. And it's like, well, actually, I'm actually really sound, actually, John, because I've saved your half of the money, even though I did all the work. So you're welcome.
You're welcome, you absolute ungrateful sod.
Yeah, and he goes, tell you what, though, now we're mates again. Never guess who I saw in the town. Who's that then? It's blooming Sarah, that soldier's husband. Not a soldier's wife, is it? Oh, blooming hell. Her again.
How married did they? Bloody hell.
How unlucky that was the town he sent her to.
Yeah, I know. And don't they? So now they basically set a trap to like capture Marshall themselves. They're like, he's going to keep coming for us. He's John Wick. He's going to keep coming for us.
He's going to keep coming. So we need to be ready for when he comes. Meanwhile,
which essentially frames Marshall as a witch alongside Sarah, and then they can eradicate them both, can't they?
Yeah, he says, married to her, and it was her uncle that was a witch. So yeah, got him. Absolute checkmate.
There we go. So it works.
Oh, and that was the other bit. When John Stern comes, when he's having a go at Matthew, he walks up to him back to thump him, and Matthew Hopkins like whips out the pistol straight away, and he goes, "I will blow you the fuck away, John." And he goes, "Yeah, you would actually." So
don't test me. Yeah, John Stern's like, "Yeah, you are like that, aren't you?
You are an absolute fucking psycho, aren't you?" So yeah, I will not have a row with you anymore. We'll just go back to our really tenuous, toxic working and relationship.
So when they do capture, how do they capture Marshall again?
Well,
they just
they've won the battle. He pops in as Oliver Cromwell's having a lovely dinner.
Yeah.
And his commander says, "Oh, this is that soldier I told you about. I think he's brilliant." And he goes, "Oh, King Charles is trying to do one. So can you and your men be on a mission to go and find him and capture him?" Which I guess either is a reward for the soldier, or is it also the captain kind of saying, you've got a mission that's free reign to be away from a unit and to be moving around the country. But nevertheless, unfortunately, they meet a fisherman at one point, and that feels like a nice little bit of exposition. I have to look up to see what happened in the actual history to see if it was one of the things they did. And it's like we just cut into a scene. So you're telling me that a weird man dressed in funny clothes came and asked to use a boat to go to France, and you didn't think that was weird, or it might be the king who's on the run. And he said, "Didn't even know there was a war on, mate."
Yeah, he does say that. Didn't even know there was a bloody war. Is there a war on? I had no idea.
Oh, is there a war? After the king, he says, "You know there's a war on. Don't you play stupid with me?" He says, "Well, I tell you what, it's pretty not it's not any type of gossip. I've been hearing all the gossip from Lathamstow. Witchfinder General about there. That's what he's called now, by the way. He's been promoted as the Witchfinder General." Yeah. And Richard's like, "Oh, the Witchfinder General. That's where Sarah is." And him and the soldiers go, "You can't do this mission. Yeah, you'll be executed for desertion." Said, "Look, I'm not letting this go. I'll come along." And the soldiers, good friends, lads, all camping together. It's boys' club, so they go along with him. And yeah, for good or ill, that's where they are. So they arrive in town. He reunites with Sarah, who is being watched by the Witchfinder General and John Stern. And this is where we enter the end game. They get a knock on the door. Tell you what, it's not room service. Matthew Hopkins, aka the Witchfinder General, he's bursting in with his pistol, and they have a confrontation.
Yeah. And in this instance is where they again, it's getting exhausted now, Witchfinder General. I say that you and Sarah are witches together, and we're going to take you to the castle to be interrogated. We know how these interrogations start and end, Matthew Hopkins. They don't start and end with you going, "Oh, I've done with the interrogation now. It turns out you're innocent. See you later." He wants to eliminate both of these people, so we know exactly what's going to happen. They start interrogating
torture them to death. Yeah, and he's
torture them to death. So the needle's in the back, so doing it to Sarah and Richard.
That's
Marshall's
the other thing as well. They're actively trying to torture Sarah because they know that Richard Marshall will never confess to anything. So they're saying, we'll use torturing Sarah as a way to extract a confession from Richard.
That's pretty much it, isn't it? Yeah.
Again, other tricks you could have done. You could have said, Vinegar Tom says, "What? Aha!" It's good. Pardon.
Aha.
Damn it.
Fine. Me.
You've played on that one, and again, they've got the local magistrate to basically lie and say, "We've got witnesses that say you're a witch." I said, "Oh yeah, yeah. Go on, you tell them."
Bastards.
I saw her talking to a familiars. And it's like, "Oh yeah, what animals were they then?" Because black cat, weasel. That's good. That's brilliant.
That's good enough for me. Black cat, a bat, a frog,
a frog. Classic witch animals. Every one of them.
Classic witch animals. All of them. Yeah. That's it. 100% confirmed.
Right. Off to the castle for some torturing, and this is where we get the opposite bit of thing. It's like, right, actually, fine. The stabbing where it wouldn't hurt and bleed, I'm going to burn you with this cross. And if it does burn you, if you shout or you pass out from this red hot cross on your back, that's the devil letting you pass out.
Coming out. Yeah. Protecting you, the old devil.
Yeah, not it's never something that would obviously be a sign of the devil. If your head turns all the way around and you vomit and climb the walls and you and you've got fire powers, and you're red, and you've got horns and a little tail and a little pitchfork. That's the devil. That is. It's never that. It's like if you do or don't shout at the right or wrong thing, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Obviously,
just making up the rules as we go along. Obviously, Witchfinder General, he'd be terrible at playing board games against him because he would just change the rules on the fly to benefit him. And nobody wants that.
If you land on the income tax on the go that you pass go, you actually don't have to pay it. Oh, right. Is that right?
I did it a second ago. Oh yeah, but that's because shut up.
You have to know the rule to say it. You have to make sure that you've said it. Otherwise,
you have to say the rule when it happens. If you don't know the rule and you don't say it, then
if you land on go instead of just passing it, you actually get 400. 400.
I landed on go 5 minutes ago. But you didn't say it. Oh fucking hell.
Yeah,
get out.
I tell you what, I'll be the banker. Because I obviously know the rules.
I'll be the banker. Pass me the fig. Yes, I'll be the banker.
Matthew Hopkins playing snakes and ladders. Actually, you have to land on the finish. If you don't roll the exact number, you bounce off it and have to go a certain number back. Matthew Hopkins, absolute nightmare to play with.
So some of the other soldiers, the comrades of Richard Marshall, approached the castle as well.
Yeah, one of them got stabbed because he caught them leaving, so he has been injured.
Yeah.
But that's how they know. And they're storming the castle. They
tried to get. There's a guard, isn't there? And they tried to basically, I'll come back later. Don't worry about it. And they go, yeah, we will come back later. Psych! Have a stabbing.
Thump him. Oh, it's okay. He's just a guard though. So they just wallop him. They just knock him. They just knock him out.
In the kerfuffle that follows, Matthew Hopkins is briefly distracted, to which Marshall manages to kick him over, and instead when he manages to,
a few of them basically done. So the magistrate, who's the false witness, comes out, and the soldiers get him, but then Richard is able to deal with with John Stern, old Sterney,
Sterners.
Because Sterney, he kicks him over as he's breaking free, and then he stamps his eye out.
Yeah, there's a weird sort of stamp on his face. You know that there's a serious injury happening because that red poster paint comes out again.
Maybe has he got maybe Richard Marshall was a short man. He's got a Cuban heel on that boot.
Possibly.
Maybe he's got spurs like a cowboy for chivying his horse along. Yeah,
exactly. When he does that, he manages to break free, and that is when he grabs an axe. And even though Matthew Hopkins has still got his pistol, manages to dodge enough. Manages to there's a quick time event here where he obviously presses L1 really quickly.
Yeah,
knocks the gun aside, and then starts bludgeoning him with what looks like a very plastic toy axe.
Yeah, he's absolutely going ham on him with the axe. And when the soldiers come in to save the day, they look and they go, "Oh, Jesus! You're making a right dog's breakfast out of Matthew Hopkins. better shoot him." So they shoot him. They shoot him, and actually, far from it being, "Oh, thanks for coming in and saving me," that makes Richard furious. He's like, "You've taken him from me."
Yeah, because he clearly wanted to just because of all the bad shit he's done, he wanted to really draw out the death. And
to be fair,
as painful as possible.
I don't think he's lasting that much longer if you just absolutely pounding him with an axe.
Yeah, and then the very last moment is Sarah screaming horribly over and over and over again, and that's how it fades to credits, which is a
strange ending because technically, I guess she had an awful few weeks, but they have won at that point.
Been stabbed in the back a lot. Don't know. It's not fatal though, is it?
No. I mean, she's definitely poorly. She's ill.
Ever so poorly.
She's probably maybe a little bit concerned about the future because obviously Richard has just chopped up the Witchfinder General.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll tell you what though, real life Matthew Hopkins, how did he really die? Do you know?
It's a good question. Now you say that. How did he die?
I can tell you.
You can. Oh, you've got it. Okay, go on.
He died peacefully not peacefully, suspected TB, but died in bed. Was certainly not chopped by an axe.
He was dreaming, and he went, I'm just on my deathbed, and I can't get help thinking about that cracking 3-year career I had as a Witchfinder General.
Yeah, when I was the Witchfinder General, the most powerful Witchfinder
in all the Conqueror world.
Yeah. Yeah,
There we go.
died in
That's
his
the
bed
end.
of TB, so I guess good. But
Sounds like someone. That sounds like a way a witch would die.
yeah.
There we go. So have we got any name game in Luke's absence? Got any name game for me?
I've got a couple for you. Do you want me to run through them for you?
Yeah, I got a couple as well. So maybe alternate. Let's
Well then,
alternate.
you want to go first?
I don't know how I'm going to say this, actually. I'm just trying to think.
Do you want me to go first, so you think? It's up to you.
Yeah, go on. You go first.
Okay, so the first one in the lawless days of the British Civil War, a weird time traveling character, Matthew Hopkins, is able to use a futuristic application to arrange sexual liaisons with the main character from a future television program, Baywatch.
Is the main character Pamela Anderson or
David
Hasselhoff? I can't remember what his name was. Mitch?
Yeah, Mitch and
Mitch Tinder.
Not Mitch Tinder. I guess
Grinder.
Yeah, that's right. Mitch Grinder. That's what we have.
Mitch Grinder General.
The Mitch Grinder General is what that film
Grinder
is.
General.
Go on then, you got one.
I got one where basically there's a guy going around, and he's got this like booklet. We could say it's like a booklet. It's like a pamphlet, maybe like a file of facts. Let's say like a file of facts.
Like a file of facts.
And in this file of facts is a list of all of the people who've grassed him up over the years, and he's going around and killing them, burning them at the stake and hanging them with this file of facts full of people who've grassed him up.
Is that the Snitch Binder General?
It's the Snitch Binder General, correct. Well done.
Okay, my next one here is in the lawless era of the British Civil War. There is a guy, knowing that it's a tumultuous time and people are going to be in a lot of peril, he just offers his services to just keep an eye on wealthy people and make sure they're doing all right, make sure they don't come to any harm.
Wealthy people. Rich. Yeah. Kinder?
Not kinder. He looks after them, make sure they're okay.
Rich. Give me a clue.
He might look after their children in like an after-school club kind of way. Like the child.
Minder.
Yes.
Rich Minder General.
Rich Minder General. Very good.
Very, very good.
You got any of this?
Yeah, there's this guy going around, and he's got grievances with people because he doesn't mind getting pinched, right? He doesn't mind it. Sometimes they pinch too hard. So he's just asking them to be a bit softer with their pinches.
the pinch kinder general.
Pinch kinder general. I know I just said one of the words and it's probably too easy.
Squeezing the skin. Yeah.
Pinch me a bit kinder, you know, it's too much.
Don't do it in a malicious way. No. I got one more for you then. So in a twist of the villainous nature of Matthew Hopkins in a lot of these films, in this lawless era of British Civil War, this guy goes around, and if there's people, they've got like an irritation on their skin and they can't quite reach it, they're not sure what's generating it, it's moving around and they can't get it, he could absolutely pinpoint where this is and help him resolve the issue.
It's good. I think I'd like a go like this. It's the Itch Finder General.
The Itch Finder General. Ever so helpful.
I know exactly where it is. Come here. No, a little bit to the left.
Didn't even need to. He's so good.
Tell me.
I got it.
Scratchy.
Does it in seconds? Gone all itchy now I've said that.
Good times. Is that it?
That's all I have. I had Titch Binder, but you beat me with Snitch. That's fine.
Snitch Binder. Okay, so now we need to rate the film. I think we both enjoyed it to a degree, didn't we? I think it was a lot more enjoyable than perhaps I sort of expected it to be.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Shall I go first this week? In that case, yeah. I enjoyed this. When I came into it, I thought, a film of a certain age, is it going to have that much for a modern audience? But I was actually very impressed with some of the performances. Yes, it's a little bit silly in places. Yes, the blood is red poster paint, but there's some really compelling performances in this one. And actually watching it back, maybe after the month we've had and these deep insights you've engineered as to the attitudes of women, not just in horror films, but in society in general, in all these different points. Again, a really nice companion piece to having watched Teeth the other week as well, and the religious connotations that come into that too. I enjoyed this. Like I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected it to, and I think actually you can overlook some of the elements that have dated somewhat in terms of its delivery, because it's the attitudes and things can be set in the fact that it's physically set hundreds of years ago, and I think several pieces of it are very well acted still. So I'm going to give this a go for a B-.
B-.
Maybe that's a little bit kind, but I'm glad I watched it. So I'm glad I've seen it.
A Luke Condor shaped B-. I had B down as well. I think again, this is another one where I think initially after I watched it, I was like, C+ is fine. But after discussing it, it's made me realize, the effective nature of some of the genuine horrors of, it's a horror film, sure, but like the horrific nature of some of these things that genuinely did happen. Again, sure, it's a fictionalized account of this Witchfinder dude going around, but yeah, and he makes a really compelling villain, Vincent Price, as Matthew Hopkins with a silly hat, and even though his final is the death scene he gets is a little bit underwhelming, I think, because it feels a bit slapstick, a little bit slapstick. But yeah, I think I'll go for a B- because it's a well-made film and it's effective in terms of the horror. And for that bar fight alone, I think it would have been a C+, but the bar fight took out to B- for me, especially with the comical Three Stooges whack on the head at the end.
Yeah, so good. Little bit of bonus for you. Little bit of bonus trivia. See if you can get this for me. Vincent Price, I think, was a standout in this, and I think watching this film has given me. If I take away one thing, I think I'd like to see more of Vincent Price's old movies, and I think more Hammer stuff in general, because I've seen precious little. But if you're a little bonus bit of trivia, can you give me a guess? Spoiling this for the quiz, really. I should have brought this up, but we'll do it now as we're here. How many films has Vincent Price been an actor in, do you think?
See, I think I read something like this because I think I read somewhere that this was his 75th film, which means...
So his 75th film was in the 60s, if that's
the 60s. Let's just say, this is probably going to be utterly ridiculous. Let's go for 150.
Perilously close. He has been in 165 films in his career.
I mean, I pretty much just doubled. I thought if he's been in that many at this point, maybe because he's in Edward Scissorhands, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that might be his last film. That's the top of the list. I'm not sure if it's because it's the most famous or because it was the last one he did, maybe.
150. He racked them right up. How, in comparison, how many films was Christopher Lee in? Because I always thought he was in...
It's got to be similar. So Vincent Price comes in at 165. What do you reckon, Christopher Lee, higher or lower?
I'm going to say higher. Because obviously we got Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and he was, no disrespect to the main man, but ancient in some of those. Oh, I don't know now. Have we got a definitive answer?
Oh, if you'd have one if I could spell Christopher Lee or type it correctly. Here you go. He is in many more than Vincent Price. So give us a guess.
You say many more, but in my head I remember some sort of discussion where we were talking about Christopher Lee, maybe like The Devil Rides Out. That's a long time ago. We covered that on this podcast, but I swear we were like 200 plus.
He was in his career 301 films.
Jesus.
I wish he'd done one less now. A nice round number. Which one would you have? If he'd not done The Howling 2.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Madness. I've watched more of his movies as well. According to my letterbox, I've seen 4% of Christopher Lee's cinematic work.
Well, on my letterbox here, it's only saying I've seen one of Vincent Price's.
Yeah.
The Fly, the Fly original would be good to watch. Okay, so that is it for this week. We're putting together the details for next month, but I think, have we confirmed what we're going to do next week?
I think we're pretty with. Yeah, like, do you want to confirm it now? I think following the passing of one of the actors from it, I think we're going to take a look at The Mouth of Madness, right, next week.
Yeah, so John Carpenter's in The Mouth of Madness, because obviously David Warner, star of The Omen, and amongst loads of other things, passed away this week, aged 80. So yeah, In the Mouth of Madness, and then we're going to be cracking into some new releases. We've got Prey, Nope, and Orphan First Killed Down. And we will be doing some sort of coverage for Fright Fest in the UK Horror Film Festival, which is happening at the end of August. So we're going to be doing some sort of coverage of that. I don't think we're quite sure what at the moment, but that might be an episode as well.
Our people have got to talk to their people, see what we can get round to watching.
That's how it works. That's how it works around these parts. So
we'll be talking about it, guys, making sure we're bringing you the latest films to watch in some capacity. We'll be getting amongst it.
We'll be getting in amongst it. So thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all our patrons, including a brand new patron, John O'Down. Thanks very much for joining the family over there. It was a dysfunctional family over there, led by the three of us. So thanks for getting involved. Thanks to all of our other patrons: John Crinan, patron against his will; Ben Scaife, monkey patron; Stephen Christopher, Laura Kendrick, co-host patron; Toby Miller, Lane Spencer, Ollie Child, Leslie Carlo, Julie Bilgren, and Pazuzu. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. And thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating and review, and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. And thanks as always to Andy Conduit Turner for being a right horror dude.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Ben, for being a right horror dude. Luke, wherever you are, smiling down on us.
I'll tell you what, though, Luke, missing a podcast recording makes me think, sounds like you're a witch to me.
Oh, I tell you what, accuse him. Right, if you ever see Luke Condor, push him in the water. If he swims or floats, confirm.
If he swims or floats or in between, dead. If you've got a knitting needle, stick it in his back, because I think he likes it. Right. Until next time. See you later, everybody.
Bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.